Know that behind somebody's success, there are many, many hours that you did not see of just work. We all need to dismantle our ego. And I found myself even worse, has led us to comparison, to diminishing and shaming others.
Salut mes amis, привет, друзья, sveiki everybody und ganz herzlich willkommen zurück to another video with me, Lina V. You know where it's at, you know what it's about. Guys, grab some tea, grab some coffee. I have this amazing Colombian blend here because I love coffee. Anyone who knows me will know I always have a coffee with me. Today we are going to get into a heart-to-heart conversation. I have felt extremely compelled to make this video because having been someone whose life was very much ingrained in languages, in cross-culturalism, in, both being the learner, the teacher, and now working in the language industry globally, I've seen a couple of things in my years of experience. And I wanted to touch on a couple of controversial topics. This is a video for you, whether you are just somebody who walks down the street and you see different signs in different languages, shop names, multicultural, cross-cultural ingredients, This is for you if you have grown up in a multicultural household, in a bilingual household, trilingual household, whatever it may be. This is for you if you love languages, you're an avid language learner, a serial language learner, you create YouTube videos for languages, or you just are learning a language because you want to, because your partner is, speaking another language, your best friend, or whatever it may be, whether you are studying it from, it's day one right now for you, or day 10, or you have been doing it for many years. But I wanted to have a serious conversation because there are some things that have really stood out for me, and a lot of things that are, that are being professed in the language learning industry, whether it be on Instagram, YouTube, through different companies that are very ego-driven. There are things that I want to call out that I've noticed myself, so mistakes I noticed myself making and things that I may have professed in the past that now when I look at them, I think, oh, you know what, you've learned from that girl. But in all honesty, this is to spread some love, some light, some motivation, and a beautiful bubble and light of reality onto all of us. So let's start at the beginning. Many of us started learning languages before the YouTube scene, before, online entrepreneurialism was even a thing, before online resources were even a thing. And the reason why I personally started learning languages was because I loved people. I loved the beauty, the reaction, the connection that ensued after you would say something to somebody else in their mother tongue, whether it be just one word, a sentence, whatever. I loved that feeling. I learned languages because for me as a child and as an adolescent, that was my passion. I just fell in love with them. I fell in love with different movies, with different books, with music from different cultures. Growing up, I was influenced by Latvian, English, Russian to some extent, Spanish as well, and that made me curious. I went to an international IB, if you don't know what IB is, International Baccalaureate School, and there were people from so many different cultures, and they would bring food from their homes and share it and talk about their experiences. And I never once thought about, I need to make a business out of this. I never thought about, I need to learn 10 languages because I need to make my ego shine and whatever. I never saw it as something competitive. I never put a number on anything. I did it for the pure, sheer love of the learning process. And I think that something I've noticed in our generation now, and with the next generation of people who are growing up in the digital world, is that we want everything yesterday. We are bombarded with so many messages telling us that we are not good enough if we take the slow process. It's like suddenly you see these beautiful success stories of I learned this language and I learned that language. And yes, I also have videos like that for a reason. I speak about my journey of learning languages because I know the power of them. I know the connections, the relationships,
the business opportunities, the sheer joy just for your soul that learning a language brings you, that the process brings you, the discipline and the hard work that goes into it, that many of us are actually fearful of. So why I started my YouTube channel and why I got into the language learning industry is because I'm passionate about learning and seeing people succeed. I saw myself succeed in a realm when I was a super shy, introverted child, and languages were my outlet. And I know what it feels like to not have confidence and to be in situations when you actually get in trouble sometimes for not speaking a certain language. And I think it's important, first and foremost, for us to remember that it is our journey. And if you see videos on YouTube, if you see, success stories, blog posts about people who learned a language in an hour, in 3 weeks, in a year, whatever, and you feel comparison coming on, I would suggest take a moment and just question a little bit more. I think we are very quick to jump to conclusions, to jump and make assumptions, and we all do it, yes, but here I want to shake your mind a little bit and think about, before you jump to conclusions, what is this person actually talking about? Because in these videos, you're only seeing an increment, a small part of someone's journey. And clickbaity titles do not fall into the trap of thinking that you actually are going to learn a language in 15 minutes or in a month or whatever. I know that I have made videos like this with titles like that, but it's to show you what I do in 15 minutes or whatever. But know that behind somebody's success there are many, many hours that you did not see of just work. So when people ask me questions like, Lina, what's the best resource to use? What is going to get me, the result that I want as soon as possible? How can I learn German, Spanish, French, Russian, Japanese faster? There isn't a faster. It is unfortunate that in the world and in the scope of digitalization and the world of social media, we have been almost conned into thinking that somehow our brain never actually knew what we were doing, and now, thank you digitalization, we can all do everything quicker, faster, better, stronger, And to be honest with you, there was a point last year where I was seriously considering just stopping making videos on my YouTube channel because I felt so much pressure and I lost my love. I honestly lost my initial love and initial reason for learning languages. Because when you are so deep in that industry and when you are so deep also in the social media world and everybody's looking at you and seeing you as an inspiration or at the same time criticizing you, or everybody has an opinion on you, they forget that actually it took a lot of courage and it took a lot of work for that person to get there. I by no means speak languages perfectly. I don't want to speak languages perfectly. I'm not going to profess that any of us are ever going to speak perfectly because I really dislike how the word perfect has led us to the mindset, the word perfectionism and this non-existent idea of perfect, where it has led us and how it has led us to comparison, to diminishing and shaming others. So this is a very long-winded talk, but dismantle your ego. We all need to dismantle our ego because actually going out there to learn something new, that's a beautiful thing. And we need to stop shaming people for whatever, wherever they are in their journeys. If somebody wants to put on another accent, if somebody wants to make a video about their journey, let them. They are expressing themselves. There is no need to suppress other people from expression. Do not suppress expression. Let people enjoy the journey. Let people make mistakes. Let people who go from lack of knowledge become knowledgeable. Do not suppress the process, because that is the number one thing that stops people in the first place from learning a language. I remember so many instances at university when I stayed quiet the whole session, like 2 hours. I remember this one French grammar lesson we had. I was so hesitant to say anything because of this perfectionism, because I had noticed other classmates belittling others who didn't have the answers, who didn't do their homework for whatever reason. And also, don't be so hard on yourself. We all have basically two parts, two selves within. There is the unconscious self and the conscious self. The unconscious self is the one that we criticize. So you know those moments when you say, damn it, I should have known that. Or why didn't I do that better? How could I have done that? You know, this I that you are talking to, who is this I? The I that you are talking to is the unconscious self that comes out in those automatic actions that you do. So you've prepared for a presentation, and you're giving a presentation and you're focused on something else. The one that's doing the talking, the one that is expelling and expressing all of the information that you pre-prepared, that's your unconscious self. And often our inner critic is actually the biggest self-sabotager. And I have been through this. Trust me, I have been through this. I still go through this. And I'm reading a book at the moment called The Inner Game of Tennis. And we can draw parallels here to language learning. I was playing tennis. I've read all of these things about my unconscious mind and to stop judgment. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. And I found myself even worse, or my mind was telling me this was even worse, that I was getting frustrated about the fact that I was frustrated and I couldn't stop the frustration and it wasn't getting me anywhere. We would all benefit from silencing the inner critic. Whatever the reasons may be, and wherever you are in your language learning journey, good on you. I am so proud of you, because you are actually taking the steps. And when you are taking the steps to learn something, the people that criticize you are behind you. People who are actually doing things, people who are making moves in their life, in their goals, do not have the time to criticize. And everything that they criticize or they say is just a reflection of themselves. I had to learn this. It took me many, many years to learn this. Something that's really important as well is cutting all of the bullshit narratives in our minds. There are so many conditioned responses and narratives that are just going against us from achieving our goals. And something that is important to note is that fear and faith are actually the same thing. They are both things that do not exist in essence. We cannot see them. They are composed of a story that we have told in our heads and a direction that we choose to believe in. Fear is debilitating, but it doesn't exist. You know, what actually is it? Like, take a moment to think about, what are you actually afraid of in terms of when you want to take that next step and you're hesitant, when you procrastinate. We procrastinate because we have this deeply conditioned fear within ourselves of failing, of not achieving our goals. But how are you ever going to know if you don't actually take the next step and if you don't actually try? Or of being judged along the way, of not being good enough. And yes, I know it's scary. None of us are going to speak perfectly. We're going to make accent mistakes. We're going to make pronunciation mistakes, is what I mean. We're going to make so many errors, but that's the beauty of learning. As children, you know, when we learn to walk, when we learn to speak, there was nobody telling us, you got that word wrong. It was like, yes, keep going, try again. So at what point did we pick up the story that making mistakes was something bad? Or making mistakes was something to judge ourselves on and judging others on? And I think if there is one thing, if you don't believe me, and if that inner critic is like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but you're not actually feeling what I'm saying, I want you to just know the people who are criticizing you or judging you or critiquing you are their own harshest critics. They themselves judge themselves so deeply because they're so ashamed of making mistakes when they do, or they fear that judgment and the abandonment that comes with judgment, that they project that onto other people. Language learning is not about ego. It is not about how many languages you learn or, you know, how fast you can get to some sort of advanced level. It is a journey. We as human beings have the luxury of having a beautiful natural learning process. As I said, the way we learn to speak, to ride a bike, to swim as kids, we made lots of mistakes, but there is an unconscious self who knows what it's doing. The one that's sabotaging it is the conditioned, conscious, the judgments that we have allowed ourselves to pick up and think that they are normal, and we think that placing pressure on ourselves is somehow going to speed up the process. No. But I wanted to just touch on a few points that I think are extremely crucial for us to just be aware of, for us to be aware of what gets in the way, touch on some controversy in terms of the stuff that you're maybe seeing advertised towards you, and to know that essentially pulling apart all of the sheets and the facades, it comes down to hard work and consistent work and just doing something. Doesn't matter what it is, just do it. And then reflect on that at the end of the day and be proud of all of the steps that you are taking to achieve the bigger goal. So if you like this video, guys, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, let me know your thoughts, your experiences in your comments. Let's open up a conversation, as I said. If you want to see more, check out the links in the description box as well. And I will see you guys next time. Mwah. Ciao, ciao.